In this episode, I wear an extra large shirt so I look less fat. Welcome back to another episode of Project Pilsen, guys. Today I just finished equipped deadlifts. Deadlifts this week has been kind of touch and go, not touch and go, but hit or miss maybe would be a better way of putting that. Yesterday my deadlift felt not great. Like my hip is really starting to bug me, or was starting to bug me, as I initiate the deadlift off the floor. And traditionally, I've never had hip pain in my deadlift, so I've been having a little bit of trouble getting my back to adjust and move properly. So I think that might be correlated. So anyways, long story short, came in and it wasn't feeling really good on my warm-ups. I was feeling kind of sluggish even with 220 on the bar. Went up to 270 in the suit, and that felt a little bit sluggish, a little bit off. 320 didn't feel very good either. But I stuck to the plan, moved up to 360, and 3 singles there all felt really good. I decided to go, I don't know if anybody has followed along on Instagram or whatever, but I've made a couple posts about using tape now, so I can try to get a little bit more hook grip work in. I have decided to go without the tape, at least for my heaviest stuff. I'll make a separate video on that, and we'll talk about maybe some of the benefits of using tape for hook grip, some of the downsides of it, but I just feel like I'm stronger without the tape. So what I'll do is probably use tape for volume and lighter stuff and ditch the tape on my heavy stuff. But like I said, we'll cover that in another video. So 360 for 3 singles on the deadlifts, those all moved really well. The hip pain kind of subsided as I went through my deadlift workout today, and by the time I got to squatting, felt really good. After my singles, I pulled a triple at 350. Yeah, 350, which I think is about 750, 760, somewhere in that range. So that's a big PR for me there. It's one of the first times I've had deadlift reps in the suit actually feel like a 9 RP. I feel like I maybe would have got one more. Probably would have been really tough, but so it's cool to be, you know, kind of pushing the threshold, and it's also really cool that when I did so, my hips started to feel a little bit better. Like I said, I moved on to do some sort of baseline volume squats after that. 230 kilos for 3 sets of 4. So it feels really good with the squat to be working with over 500 pounds regularly, comfortably, very little pain, and feeling like, you know, that's a weight I can just kind of hop under and get the work done with. It's been a long time since I've been that comfortable with raw squats, so I'm really happy about that. From there, moved on to do some competition bench, and competition bench this training cycle has been insanely heavy, for me anyways, and my little self. Today was, and this week, all week, has been 152.5 kilos for triples. I think that was probably my 14th or 15th set of 3 at that weight today. So by the end, everything feels like a 10. I'm really, really struggling to get through those, but it seems to be working. My bench seems to be moving, and 152.5 for triples for me was probably a PR the first time I did it, and then I did it I don't know how many more times throughout the week. So raw bench is on its way up. I have some big hopeful plans for Raw Worlds, hoping to be a little bit more in the mix with my bench press this time. One of the commentators on the Raw competition that I did in Texas there kind of wrote me off completely when I started benching and just said like, oh, this guy's got to come back next year.
Yeah, without any disrespect, I mean, 175 and the 105s at the Worlds just a little bit off the pace, isn't it?
Yeah.
You got to be 20 kilos on that, and then if you bring good lower body strength to the table, suddenly you're a serious player. Check for the silver medal. Oh yes, it's there, and that is 3 white lights, and that is the silver medal for Canada.
And it's fair enough. I was very first in all 3 attempts across the board on the bench. So, you know, my bench has a long ways to go, but I feel like I'm finally catching my stride with it, being able to push around heavier weights and feeling more comfortable under it. So that's awesome. We're gonna get down to some questions of the day. Last video, we didn't have any questions. This video, we got so many. I'm probably gonna rattle through a couple of them. So thanks to everybody who's submitted. Let's see here. All right, so we got a question from Johnny1258, and he wants to know if I'm Polish. I was always told I was Ukrainian, but I think Ukrainian Polish, maybe there was some mixing there along the way. I don't know. I've been told my surname is Polish by a bunch of people, but I was always raised being told I was Ukrainian. So who knows really? Maybe I'll do one of those ancestry tests someday. Another question from Bob Neat Dillon. And he wants to know if I do singles for my squat, bench, dead, regardless of what stage of training I'm in. To a point, yes, unless I'm deloading. Almost every program I'm doing right now or have been doing for a while has singles. I think Mike really likes to use them as kind of a litmus test to see how my lift is progressing. It's a very solid measure of how well you can perform your competition movements, because it's about as close as you can get to competition. So we use that almost as more of a marker of progress and something else to track, as well as it helps develop the skill of lifting heavy. I don't program that in every one of my athletes' programs, and I don't think Mike does either. But for myself, for where I'm at and what I'm doing, it makes sense to put them in there most programs. Got another question from Brennan Sutherland. He wants to know what kind of headphones I use. I invested in some Jaybird X3s. I don't know anything about headphones, but I did some research. I wanted some wireless headphones, and those were a little bit cheaper than the Dre Beats ones, and they had some good reviews, so that's what I went with. I like them so far. I'm not really like super picky with my sound or anything like that. There's a built-in EQ that I don't really use, but yeah, that's what I use. Another question from Watts57. He wants to know, with an achy sore joint or muscle, how do you decide to train through the pain or treat it like an injury and give it rest? Generally, I would say if you can perform the movement with less than like a 3 out of 10 pain, and this was something that I learned when I started working with Rory Alter through RTS, that was sort of the cutoff, was like if it's a 3 out of 10 or less, go ahead, work with it, you know, try to fix your movement so that the pain decreases. But if it starts to climb up above that, either decrease the load, do less sets, do less reps, change the movement, or nix it all together. So long story short, that's kind of how I treat my injuries, my pain. And the other thing is, it just kind of takes time to learn your body and learn what is normal. You know, I tweaked my back, I think day 2 of this program, maybe even day 1 of this program, but I've done that enough that I knew, okay, this is probably gonna be better in a day or 2. I was a little tentative with it, squatting and deadlifting, just to kind of see how it felt good, and then it just kind of went away. So if it was something else, like with my shoulder, I know that if that starts really acting up, I gotta give it some rest. So it becomes a matter of getting to know your body after a point too, so. Hopefully that answers some of your guys' questions. Thank you so much for submitting them. Like I've said a million times now, I really like answering them, and I really like having a little bit of hopeful takeaway for you guys. So that's it for this week. I'm gonna go fishing and hope I don't freeze and hope the lake isn't frozen. And we'll see you guys next week for more Project Pills, and thanks for tuning in.